Access Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne are a service of the Allen County Public Library. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting organizations. For more information about creating your own television program with Access Fort Wayne, call 421-1250.
Hello, and welcome to our show, The American Veteran. I'm Dale Parrish, your host. Carl Fowler is our co-host. And also sitting in with us is Grant Loy. Our guest today is Theron Lansford. He's a Air Force veteran that was stationed at the Nevada test site, which he should have some interesting stories. Welcome to our show, Theron. When did you join the Air Force?
1950, August 15.
I see. And you took your basic in Texas, is it?
In Texas, I had basic in two places. The first part was in
Lackland?
San Antonio.
Lackland.
And the second part was in Wichita Falls up there, because I went in right with an influx of people coming into the Air Force, because it was right after the war started.
Yeah.
And once it was started, then they had to split them up that way.
Yeah. Where was you stationed at then first thing? Was it Nevada?
No. Then I went to South Carolina. Actually, my MOS was in radar.
Oh.
In fact, I pioneered what they call ground mobile radar, where our unit actually was to move up to the front line and control all the aircraft in that area. From 200 miles to 50 miles from the front line.
Yeah.
It was an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'll bet it was. And then when did you end up in Nevada?
Okay, I was again stationed in South Carolina, and I went to a school for radiological defense in Virginia, and I came back to South Carolina for a while, and then I was transferred to a unit that was supposed to move to Italy, of all things. But unfortunately, and I was in the advanced party to go to Italy to choose radar sites up and down Italy for our unit.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the day before the advance party, that's me, there were 5 of us, and we had an airplane and we had a car and everything set up over there. Italy went communist.
Oh.
And our orders were canceled.
Yeah.
And that was the day before we were supposed to leave. So that was a big disappointment. But it was when I was at Otis Air Force Base on Cape Cod when that happened. Well, in, let's see, May of 1953, they were having a set of tests. In fact, 2 of them. One where they were going to drop a 20 kiloton bomb, which was actually the same bomb that was dropped over Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And it's the only time that a 20 KT device has ever been airdropped on this continent.
Okay.
I was sent as an Air Force, a tactical air command observer there. There were 5,000 troops that were sent sort of to see how the troops would respond.
React, yes.
To this kind of thing. And we were situated in trenches, 7-foot trenches, less than 5 miles from ground zero.
Yeah.
Ground zero was a village that they had built there in the desert, and they even brought part of a forest there to plant.
They have some trees, yeah.
Yeah, and the village had concentric trenches in it, all the way through, out, probably up to a quarter of a mile. And in these trenches, they had sheep, pigs, that sort of thing, all of them dressed in uniform.
Okay.
But the village had everything you could imagine in it, houses and that sort of thing. But they also had a medical unit. What are the medical units that they used in the field?
MASH units?
MASH unit.
Okay.
They had a MASH unit there. All located around ground zero. And we were placed in this 7-foot trench and face down. We were at least the Air Force observers were all issued gas masks and this sort of thing to kind of protect us there. And we were face down in these trenches. But before we went in, I noticed a rabbit
Hopping around.
hopping around in the area. A jackrabbit, as a matter of fact. And, you know, they're big.
Yeah.
And long ears and that sort of thing. We went in, face down. As soon as the flash occurred, we were given a command over loudspeaker to rise over the top of the trench. We were supposed to get up and get out. We did just before the 2 air blasts hit.
Shock waves, yeah.
Yeah. And you could look out there and you would see helmets and just all kinds of equipment rolling across the desert out there. And then I noticed something very unusual, and it was that rabbit again. But he had no ears.
No ears.
Burn them
No
right
ears.
off, huh?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Then we watched the fireball change color and shape. And of course, as the dust cloud was sucked up into it, it went from white to black to red to, it was just an amazing number of colors. Then we were ordered to march down to ground zero.
Sure. Did your feet warm up, did they?
I'm sorry?
Did your feet warm up?
Oh, yes. And in fact, it was May 5th, I believe, or 6th, and it was a cool morning. but after the air blast, it was hot.
Yeah.
Yep, I
Sure.
understand.
And we walked down. In fact, I walked up to it, to ground zero, the actual ground zero, which was a 2.5 ton 6x6 truck. That truck was about that tall.
Just melted right down.
Oh, molten glass and metal.
Yeah.
That was it. I carried a Geiger counter in, and when I got up to the truck,
Probably went off the scale, didn't it?
it pegged.
Big, yep.
It pegged.
I understand that.
Yeah. Then, of course, then we left the area. And 2 days later, we went to see the first firing of the atomic cannon, the 280 millimeter atomic cannon. Now, we weren't nearly as close to it as we were with the airdrop. We could sit out there and watch the whole thing, except we didn't want to watch the flash.
Right.
Burn your eyes.
Yeah, that could have burned our retinas with that. But it was one of the most amazing trips that I've ever been on.
Well, you went through an experience that probably very few people have gone on.
Well,
and probably never will again.
More than you would think. For example, at that test, they had 5,000 soldiers, Army people, Army personnel, there as guinea pigs. And in fact, they all had patches on their palms to
measure the Roentgens.
The emotional response.
Oh, okay.
To
the sweat and so
being
forth.
there.
Yeah, okay.
And so with 5,000 people just at this one test, and you collect all the other tests, it's amazing.
Yeah, but I was referring
been exposed.
I was referring to the fact that you probably saw it from a different perspective than some of the others.
Oh yeah, but simply because these people were here as guinea pigs,
and you was not. You was an observer.
I'm sorry?
You was an observer. They were guinea pigs. Yeah.
In fact, I carried a Geiger counter there. I was in Air Force, actually a tactical command observer.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
It was quite a thing to observe.
Yeah. This village they built, was it all stick construction or was there brick and mortar?
There was everything.
Was there?
Oh yeah. And let me tell you, there wasn't much left. We went down before the blast. And in fact, before the drop, we were topside, and they set off 120,000 pounds of TNT.
Okay.
I think.
Supposed to be able to show some kind of equivalent or something?
Yes, we'd have something to measure the sound by.
Yeah.
It was just a little pop.
Compared to the Big Bang.
Oh, compared to that blast.
Yeah.
And particularly, remember, you don't get just one blast, you get two, in the sense that from the expansion of air that comes, and it comes in a circular form, and when it hits the ground, it comes back up, and you get
an echo.
Two.
It also comes back, don't you, or is that just minor?
No, what it is, you've got a round ball coming down.
Yeah, you get two of them going out.
Yeah, and then you push it down. What it does is pushes another blast up, and that's what you get with two of them. It's sort of a bang, and then bang. It depends on how far away from the blast you are.
Okay.
But it was enough to.
Either one of those shock waves, would they be enough to knock you down?
Yes.
I was going to say, they're pretty powerful, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, it's that double blast that's so destructive to buildings, because what you do, you get a push, it comes back and it gets another one.
Yeah.
Sure.
And bang, down it goes.
Yeah.
There wasn't much standing.
I don't imagine.
Yeah, that's
of course, the heat from the blast will incinerate
oh, sure.
anything flammable.
Just vaporizes it. In
well,
some cases, if
there
it's close
was a
enough.
lot of that too.
Yeah, it just vaporizes.
Yeah, but say a frame house, for example, would catch on fire from that, as well as being
Knocked down.
knocked down.
Yeah.
But it was really depressing, I think, is
Well-
the best way to put it. To walk into this little town that we'd been in 2 days before.
We've all seen what a tornado can do to towns, right?
Absolutely.
And what you don't think about is you think, look at all the gas lines and everything that are, put out of commission, disrupted, maybe spewing gas,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and electricity, live
Ignites it.
wires laying around. So you had a town there, and that you'd had the same situation you'd have as a tornado, of all this
Absolutely.
stuff.
In fact,
really dangerous.
that's a good analogy, because the pictures that we get of where a tornado has gone through are very reminiscent of that little village that they built there.
Now you said something that was interesting to me. You said they had animals like cows and pigs and so were dressed in uniforms. I couldn't have been there. I could have never gone there.
Oh?
One of those pigs that had a higher rank than I did, I could never have stood that.
Yes, yeah. Well, I didn't see a single rank insignia.
And I was going to say, I would imagine all those animals did not survive.
No.
They were gone.
I didn't, even as far away as that rabbit was that I was telling you about,
If he
I'm sure was
He
soon.
burned his ears off. He probably didn't survive either.
No.
And that's unfortunate. But those bombs are something, we don't ever want to experience.
No.
Well, it's,
The fact that you have, I say, is a rare situation,
yeah. Well, if you look at all the people in the country, you're right.
Well, I volunteered to go out there.
I'm sorry?
I volunteered to go out there as a guinea pig.
Oh.
I wanted to see it,
Right.
A friend of mine volunteered. He got to go, but I didn't.
Oh.
But I understand that most of them went there has got problems.
Oh, yeah.
Cancer.
Yeah.
Leukemia is a big thing, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
Leukemia, I read, is a big thing that they get from that.
Well, the thing that is of most concern to the VA, for example, is cancer of various kinds. Now, the only thing I've had that can be directly related probably is skin cancer. I've had a number of skin cancers that have had to be removed. But I've also had other kinds of health problems that could be
attributable.
It's hard to
know for sure, probably.
right. So much so that I've not received any veteran compensation for that.
Yeah.
So
just jump right in, Lloyd, if you got any.
Oh.
Or Grant, I mean.
You had mentioned about tornadoes and the bomb kind of in the same situation. The only thing that I could see different would be that when the bomb went off, it just pretty much burned everything.
Yeah, it burned everything.
But
right.
now the
tornado just knocks it down.
Right. Scatters it.
But yeah, what I was referring to was the gas lines, electricity, and and everything else.
Get the fires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, explosions too. Yeah.
But I could not believe the devastation.
No.
Another thing. It just a memory just flashed. The closer we walked into Ground Zero, the more crusty the desert sand was, because
turning it to glass.
Absolutely.
Turning it to glass, and it was crunching under your feet.
Yeah.
Did you have a badge on?
Yes, and I had what they call a pocket dosimeter, and I had one other measurement. The records show. Now, I don't know if they just put a maximum for that they considered for everybody that walked in.
Okay.
But I had 500 Rankins of exposure.
Yeah. Well, Carl and I both went to chemical, biological, and radiological
CBR school. Yeah.
School. I don't remember a whole lot about it. Did all the troops go into this village afterwards, or just
Absolutely
observers? Everybody.
Okay.
Marched in, huh?
Mm-hmm.
They marched in rather than just walk?
We went down together.
Okay.
That's as
just
close.
Advanced. That's all.
Well, that it'd be hard to march on the desert.
Well,
yeah.
What I was referring to is they go by unit designation or something this way.
Yeah.
Different groups, you know.
Yeah, and of course they also had pocket dosimeters and that sort of thing to measure the amount of radiation that they received. But none of them, as my memory is, none of them wore things like gas masks to protect them going in. And of course, what happens at Desert Sand also, for a time, becomes radioactive. And you breathe that in, and
it's like a dust.
So, and the VA is very concerned about diseases that occur from that kind of exposure. On the ocean or wherever they were, there were a lot of them exposed at Bikini Lagoon,
right,
on ships,
yeah.
And that sort of thing. And all of us are they're pretty concerned about and ask us to contact the VA and this sort of thing to keep apprised of.
Sure. Plus, they want to know.
Yeah.
The records.
Oh, yeah.
What the records show, you know.
Well, they want to know so that they can. The reason this was done twofold. One is to check the emotional response that
Yeah.
they would get from troops in the field
Right.
from being exposed. That was one thing. The other thing, of course, and this came later, when people started to have illnesses related to
Mm-hmm.
the exposure.
Is it true that the VA, everyone that was there, the VA gives them an automatic disability?
No.
No.
No, he
Okay.
was saying he's having a rough time with the VA.
I've never received anything relative to that.
I see.
My only thing that the VA has been able to identify, and it's unrelated, is my hearing loss from flying in uninsulated aircraft, firing weapons, that sort of thing.
I think hearing loss is almost automatic where you've been exposed to
Yeah.
noise, you know.
Yeah. So, but that's the only thing that they have identified as a service-related disability.
Sure.
Now, did you see this artillery piece that's supposed to have fired nuclear weapons? Did you see the weapon itself?
No,
Okay.
well, this was dropped from 40,000 feet from a B-36.
Yeah, but then you said they fired
The cannon.
the
280.
cannon.
The 280.
We were not close to the cannon itself, close enough to see them load it. But 280 millimeters are pretty big.
That's almost like a ship's cannon. They shoot about 20 mile. So
When I was in
Yeah.
Korea, I heard rumors that they had one in Korea. I don't know if they ever did or not.
No,
I don't.
I don't know.
I've never heard of one.
Well,
They had them in the
had-
States, but I never heard of them overseas.
Yeah.
They did have some 155 millimeter cannons,
Yeah, that's a regular howitzer. Yeah.
but that's as big as I know about.
Yeah. Okay. Did you go to CBR school then?
Yes,
And you said that was where?
at Langley Air Force Base, in
Langley. Okay.
Virginia.
Okay, I went to Fort Sam Houston,
Ah,
Texas.
I went to Wisconsin.
So evidently
they had, evidently, each service had one, and then within the Army there were scattered all over the country. The Air Force only had one, and that was at Langley.
I kept my notes.
Did you?
Yeah, and then in Korea, after the war, the commander come up to me and he says, you're going to give a couple of classes on that. And I thought, oh, geez. I dug my notes out and I couldn't hardly make sense of them. Well, tell you what, we're out of time. Thank you for being here.
Theron,
Oh,
thank
it's
you for
my
your
pleasure.
This
service.
was very interesting. Thank you for watching the show. Remember, freedom is not free. So if you see a veteran or someone in uniform, just walk up to them and say, thank you for your service. Thank you and good night.